It really is the 10th anniversary of Five Nights at Freddy's, because a FNAF game shadow dropped before its announced release date. Into the Pit was supposed to come out yesterday on Thursday, but due to some whoopsies with the Japanese release, it released early, so they decided to just ship out the game worldwide on Wednesday around 5 p.m. EST. And it is so good, and I'm honestly glad it came out on Wednesday, so I was able to make this video for you guys today. Today's video is useful to everyone, whether or not you've played Into the Pit yet, even if you've only heard of the game. The first chunk of this video will be spoiler free, and in fact it'll give you a good idea as to how the game plays and what the game is about. Kind of a see it before you buy it sort of deal. And don't worry, there will be a massive spoiler warning before we touch anything that could be considered a spoiler, which is the bulk of this video. So for now, just stay tuned. Slices, put on your aprons, and let's break down a recipe. So what is Into the Pit? As a game, it looks and plays so visually distinctive from the rest of the FNAF franchise. It's further away from FNAF than FNAF World was. Well, Into the Pit is a survival stealth game with a heavy emphasis on puzzle solving, and it's based on one of the short stories from Fazbear Frights of the same name, Into the Pit. The game itself is really damn good, and it brings a lot of well-needed horror into the franchise. As far as replayability goes, the majority of the game is the same on most playthroughs. However, the game is rich with hidden secrets and Easter eggs and additional settings on replays, so you can customize your experience every time, and you're likely to find something new. I mean, just as an example as to how deep these secrets can go, one of the tools you get very early on is your dad's phone, and you can use it to call a myriad of phone numbers. In fact, the first number you get is your mom in order to call her and see if everything's okay. At the very end of the game, I'm talking within 30 seconds of beating the game, if you call your mom again in the arcade, you actually pause. Like I said, no spoilers yet, but that's an example on some of the kinds of puzzles that you have to trial and error your way to solve. And that's a light example. This game is definitely worth checking out. It's only been 2 days and it's already one of my favorite FNAF games, if not #1. But I want to sleep on that to figure it out for sure. For now, let's talk plot. The game opens about halfway through the original story it's based on, actually, following Oswald, our main character, being driven to Jeff's Pizza by his father. He goes there every day to not be home alone during the summer. But this day, his dad is late in picking him up, and being annoyed about that, he tries to get back at his dad by hiding from him before he gets there. His idea is to hide in the abandoned ball pit in the back of Jeff's Pizza. He goes in, but when he comes out, he's not in Jeff's Pizza anymore. Well, the building itself is the same, but now it's decorated as a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In fact, everything is retro, seeing a calendar in another room. We're in 1985 all of a sudden, in a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the restaurant that Jeff's Pizza was before Jeff took over. At this 1985 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Oswald has a great time. He plays around with some kids he meets, does some arcade games, plays tag, he even plays hide and seek. But when he's playing hide and seek, he makes his way into a storage room and finds the empty suit of Fredbear. He hides inside of it and successfully wins hide and seek, but while he's back there, the yellow rabbit appears. This organic looking, breathing, dark creature who peers in on him through the eyes but doesn't see him. Then everything shifts. The restaurant is darker and everyone is screaming and trying to run out the building. Oswald instead looks for his new friends that he just made and finds the yellow rabbit, beckoning him to the party room that was previously locked. Once following, Oswald encounters the missing child incident. Again, this is like maybe 15 minutes into the game. This is the premise, and we're already seeing for the first time a non-Atari styled adaptation of the missing child incident. Oswald then runs for it, trying to escape the ball pit, and it works. He gets back to the other side, finding Jeff and his father. But after Jeff leaves, his father is attacked by that yellow rabbit from the pit and is dragged inside. Oswald drags him back out, but his father is different, his eyes glowing. Once they get to the car, Oswald realizes that yellow rabbit has replaced his father, but only he can see the difference. Everyone else thinks his dad is just fine. He realizes that his dad must be back in that ball pit, and he resolves to escape his house, get back to the ball pit, and find his father. And that's pretty much where the game kicks off. So that's the description and premise for this game. Moving forward, we're going to step into spoiler territory. This is my best pitch for you on what this game is and what it's about. I highly recommend buying and playing this game before you watch the rest of this video. In fact, if I get this video out on time, tonight I'll be streaming 5 laps at Freddy's and just having fun and talking about FNAF Anniversary Week. And during this stream, one viewer is going to win a copy of Into the Pit. I bought an extra copy, I've got the code, and you'll get, it's a Steam code. You have to be able to play on Steam, but it's a Steam code for Into the Pit. So someone's gonna win. I'll be streaming tonight at 9:30 p.m. EST on this channel and on Twitch. I'll see you there. Anyway, spoilers ahead. I'm going to talk about the rest of the content of this game. You have been warned. The game really kicks off from there. During the following daytime sections, you collect items and survive daily life, going to school and acting as though everything's normal. And at night, you escape the house, enter the ball pit, and look for your father. Each night, Oswald saves a different kid and explores the pizzeria just a little bit more. Eventually, on the 5th night, we make our way back into the very same party room where the missing child incident happened, and we find the 5th child we save, who lets us know that she didn't see any grown-ups, but she heard some man groaning through the vent. So we climb through it, and we find ourselves in the secret safe room that every Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is equipped with, and inside is our father tied to a chair. We untie him, but we get interrupted by the yellow rabbit, who drags our father off. We chase after them and find the rabbit and our father fighting just outside the ball pit. And this is where we start to see our different endings, and where the endings diverge. If up until this point you have just played the game and not gone after any collectibles or didn't get the collectibles you needed already, then you're met with the 1-star ending, a bad one. You and your father barely escape through the ball pit, and on the other side, while you're still recuperating, the yellow rabbit jumps out, grabs Oswald, and goes back into the pit. We then cut to Oswald tied up in a chair much like his father was, and it's implied that the yellow rabbit kills him. This is a very sad ending, but it's not the only bad ending actually. At any point after your first encounter with the yellow rabbit, you can just leave through the front doors of the pizzeria in the past. If you do so, Oswald leaves it and gets lost and confused, not sure where he is. Which you then get the ending implying that you just abandon your father in the pizzeria and try to make a new life in 1985. It's very reminiscent of that main door exit ending from Security Breach. But there are better endings to be had, all of them being locked behind collectibles. Throughout the pizzeria, you can collect items from your father that are connected to memories that the both of you share, much like the Mario items in Luigi's Mansion. If you collect all 5 of them, then one more item spawns in the party room where the MCI happened, a mysterious photo with the figures scratched out. In-game, you really can't make much of it, but the achievement photo actually shows the silhouettes of what looks like William and Henry. Not only that, but in the files, someone found a scrapped concept for this photo, which was likely planned to be inspected, but they decided against it, where it's definitely William and Henry, at least according to their character encyclopedia descriptions. This photo is what unlocks the canon ending. In the final fight, as you and your father leave through the ball pit, that photo falls out of Oswald's pocket, and in the moment, the yellow rabbit instead goes after the photo, getting confused and having a little freakout section. This buys you just a bit of time, so that when you're on the other side, you recuperate before the yellow rabbit pops out, leaving Oswald to give that final punch from the book, which gets the yellow rabbit stuck in the netting, and its struggling ends up hanging itself in the ropes. The pair then reunite, reconcile, and leave. But this is just the 2-star ending, because after the credits, you get a scene where Jeff goes to investigate the ball pit and finds that yellow rabbit, who's still alive, and attacks him. To get the 3-star ending, we're not done collecting items yet. Throughout the game, there are pieces of arcade machines that can be collected to repair the present-day Jeff's Pizza broken down machines. If you repair every single arcade machine and play 3 secret minigames on top of collecting that photo, you unlock the 3-star ending. It's the same ending, but the post-credit scene is changed to a much happier one. Jeff seems to have renovated his restaurant with the funds from those arcade machines, and we see him serving a happy family at the new restaurant. This is the best, but likely non-canon ending. So that's the major plot of the game. But what are the secrets that I keep mentioning? Like I said before, throughout the game you can find multiple pieces of technology that can be used to repair the arcade machines in present-day Jeff's Pizza. This unlocks a token-free version of that arcade machine that you can play in safety and earn tickets for. Every 20 tickets gets you a prize voucher. Those prize vouchers can be used at the machine in the middle of the arcade to get 4 prizes. The first is a handheld game console, which can be used to trade with a delinquent for a firecracker. The other 3 are stickers that you place in a sketchbook that you get from this girl named Gabrielle. The arcade machines are mostly just fun side minigames that you can play. By the way, Help You Lee's is by far the most efficient arcade machine to grind in. You get 1 ticket per rep, and most people can get about 10 reps per game. But there is one really big secret in this Balloon Boy minigame where you collect party hats. Once you collect 5, there's a secret wall that you can walk through. You go through a dilapidated party room, then pop 5 balloons, and then you find this sprite of Purple Guy dangling a 6th party hat over a pit. You can catch it and then head back to win 6 out of 5 hats. This game has some implications. It could be argued that this is saying the missing child incident had a 6th victim we didn't know about thus far, but that's speculation. If all of these arcade machines are fully repaired, then you get a chance to get the 3-star ending, but to do so, you need to beat 3 secret minigames. So what are they, and how do we get them? All of these minigames are available and accessible during Night 5. One of them is specifically only accessible right before the end of the game, but I believe the other 2 can be accessed during Night 5 at any moment. The first is accessed by calling Mom during Night 5. It's that secret I mentioned in the intro. If you do so, you get this minigame, where you play as Eleanor from Fazbear Frights, granting a girl a wish. You build her a more and more beautiful body until eventually giving her a necklace. She then turns into a pile of trash and the minigame ends. This is the minigame based off the Fazbear Frights story, To Be Beautiful. The story is essentially this minigame. This girl met Eleanor and repaired her, and Eleanor promised to grant her one wish. Her wish was to be beautiful, so every night she woke up more and more beautiful, so long as she wore the necklace that Eleanor gave her, a silver heart pendant. By the end of the story, she looks completely different, but she falls and her necklace comes off. She can't quite get it back on, and while she's struggling, her body is turning into garbage. She runs home and finds Eleanor, by this point almost being entirely garbage. She finds in the garage several bags of her own chopped up body parts. Eleanor takes the necklace from her and puts it on, appearing like the girl did at the beginning of the story, and leaves. It's implied Eleanor was slowly replacing this girl's body with garbage, but using the necklace to make her appear more beautiful instead. The second minigame is, in my opinion, the longest to get. In the dining room, specifically just before the end of the game. Like I mentioned, your father gets dragged out of the safe room and then you go to the ball pit for the final confrontation. It's in between those 2 moments where this minigame is accessible. You go to the candy machine and you have to spam it. And I'm talking like 50 plus times you have to activate this candy machine. Hey, Mega Cat Studios, if you're watching this video, amazing game. Love this game. Might be my favorite FNAF game of all time. I get this secret. He mentions he could just sit here forever and eat it. It could have been like 20. You didn't need to make it like 50. Hell, he says 25 cents. He could have made it 25. Wouldn't have taken this long at least. But eventually, and you do get some secret messages as you spam, you get this minigame, which looks a lot like Foxy Go Go Go, which I believe is on purpose. You play as this girl going into a room collecting 5 objects, and the objects change each time, until eventually it's just Bon Bon on Funtime Freddy's hand. Collecting that, the girl starts crying, and the minigame ends. This is the minigame based off of the Fazbear Frights story, Count the Ways. This story is essentially a really sad goth girl named Millie is obsessed with death, and she winds up hiding in Funtime Freddy's chest, to which she gets trapped. Funtime Freddy then starts listing all the ways that he could possibly kill her in incredibly graphic detail. She eventually chooses the guillotine, hoping to avoid it at the last minute and break out. The story ends ambiguously, but in the later epilogues we meet Millie's spirit, assuming that she failed to escape. The third secret minigame is the only one with prerequisites. If you've beaten enough arcade machines to get the handheld console and all 3 stickers, when in Night 5, you have to interact with the prize voucher machine. Some people argue you need an extra voucher token, but I don't think you do. You can find out yourself. I don't remember having one when I accessed it, but when you do, you find the minigame Find the Balloons, in which we're in a essentially Find Them styled minigame, but for Jeff's Pizza, along with Golden Freddy and the same room layout. You collect 6 red balloons throughout the area, and once you do, the party room is unlocked. Inside is a robot dog on top of a prize counter. You give the 6 balloons and you win, but when you leave, the text is replaced with "See you," and the robot dog mauls us to death. The game even zooms in on your face. This is the game based on the Fazbear Frights story, Fetch. In it, a boy named Greg is exploring an abandoned pizzeria and finds Fetch, this old Fazbear toy shaped like a dog. It's meant to sync up with your phone and get anything you want for you. It fetches. But throughout the story, it's incredibly violent and starts doing things without Greg wanting to. For example, he doesn't like this one kid, and then the kid gets attacked. He wants this girl to like him, and the girl gets killed, and her body is brought to his room. Upon the end of the story, he finds this body, screams, and he receives one final text from Fetch, "See you," the same letters, essentially being "see you later." Beating all these games, and collecting the old photo, and repairing all of the arcade games unlocks that 3-star ending. But that's not where this game's secrets end. Far from it. There are a lot of Easter eggs in this game, and I'll try to add as many as the community found here. First off, opening the attic door can cause this Freddy mask to fall out. Upon inspection, you can actually trade it with the delinquent for the firecracker instead of the game console, so it's just another option there, which is cool. There's actually a lot of other options you can do to accomplish the same goal. For example, there's, I believe, 4 ways to escape the house, but you only ever really need to do it 3 times. So one of them isn't going to be used on each playthrough. Some people say that this Freddy mask is hinting that Oswald's father might be the Freddy bully. Others say it's a reference to You're the Band, where a kid gets hypnotized by a Freddy mask. It's honestly hard to say, but it's a cool inclusion nonetheless. In the past arcade, the first time you visit while it's still happy, if you interact with the arcade machines, you can find that all of the high scores are topped by someone named GGY. This is a reference to the Tales in the Pizzaplex story of the same title, which is wild to think about, because either this is just an Easter egg, or somehow GGY, which is Gregory under the control of Glitchtrap, was at the 1985 pizzeria, or also traveled in the pit. Either way, it's crazy. This Kids at Play sign outside of the school, believe it or not, is another reference. In fact, to another short story titled Kids at Play. This short story is crazy. Essentially, a dude runs over a kid, runs over a Kids at Play sign, and then his paranoia starts driving him crazy, because if the police find the kid and he's still alive, he's going to jail. Eventually, his paranoia and guilt catch up to him, and his body, Telltale Heart style, compels him to walk to the area of the accident in the middle of the night, and his body graphically morphs into a Kids at Play sign. Like his eyes fall out, his skin peels off, it's crazy. And it's noted that these Kids at Play signs have these weird gross brown puddles underneath them. The reveal being, it's the body parts that were peeled off to form into the sign. Lo and behold, you see that puddle underneath this Kids at Play sign? Rarely in Oswald's room, this poster can instead be the cover for the Twisted Ones. And even more rarely, and this is actually debated on how you trigger it, some people say you wait in Oswald's room for 10 minutes, but I tried that and it didn't work, so it's not really clear how this happens, but a very important character can appear outside Oswald's bedroom's window, the Stitch Wraith, one of the main characters of the epilogues of Fazbear Frights. And thank God we finally have a good in-game visual of both the Stitch Wraith and Eleanor. Now I can stop using these cropped graphic novel pictures. Or for the Stitch Wraith, this one picture we have from the character encyclopedia. We also get a one-line reference to a Fazbear Fright story, What We Found. In this book title, nothing divided in half is nothing. It's a line from the story. There's also a series of Easter eggs you can find on your phone. You can call the several phone book numbers to just have fun conversations. You can, without prompting, call 911, and you'll find out that 911 services were disbanded in this town for budget reasons, and instead to call your local police station. You can call this poster number, which gives you a line to Freddy's, which you then hear a special they have, the Golden Bite, with an 83-slice pizza. This is a crazy reference, and they threw in exotic butters too. The coolest one in my opinion is if you dial 777-4648. Now this number was found by digging through the game files. No one's really sure how we're supposed to figure this out in-game. The best guess anyone has is that this technically spells out Spring T in phone dial text. Essentially how like some phone numbers would be like 1-800-CALL-NOW. The same thing applies with this, but Spring T. If you call it, you get this audio. Intense. Seemingly, this is the audio of William Afton getting spring-locked, and it's badass. Like, look at it overlaid. Finally, we get this big Easter egg room. It's the safe room, the Freddy safe room. In order, the photo of Henry and William from the Silver Eyes, Endo 02, possibly a reference to Charlie's Science Project and the Twisted Ones, the movie Balloon Boy figure, It's Me, Garrett's plane from the movie, and this thing. It's probably a reference to something, I can't clock it. Now, there are plenty of more Easter eggs in this game. Honestly, probably most of them have still yet to be found. This game is only 3 days old, and every hour somebody finds something new, which is really cool. It feels like that old FNAF 1 through 4 feeling again, where we just keep finding shit. I can't wait what else will be found. But I hear you. This is all really cool. The plot is awesome. The Easter eggs are sick. How does this game affect the timeline? Does it affect the timeline? Is it in the game's continuity? Well, it's complicated. So there's a lot of ways this debate can go. On one hand, the name of the game is Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit, and nowhere is it stated to not be in continuity or to be a spin-off. So on one hand, yeah, of course it is. It's an official game. But then in the interview with Dawko, Scott mentioned this game was born out of the idea that Mega Cat Studios can make physical cartridge games, and it was meant to just be like a fun spin-off cartridge thing, but it grew bigger and better over time and became a full official game. So was it intended to not be part of the continuity but now is? Or is it still not? Is it just meant to be its own fun thing? Even if the game is in continuity, what parts of it are? This game is full of Easter eggs. There's 3 minigames that directly tell the story of Fazbear Fright stories, but then again, there's Easter eggs from Fazbear Frights, Tales from the Pizzaplex, The Silver Eyes, which is definitely not in continuity, other games, and the movie, which everyone agrees is not in the game's continuity. So what about those references? And if those references aren't, what about other references? What inclusions are Easter eggs? And what inclusions are lore-intentioned references? It's really hard to say. I've even heard people make a very strong argument that this game is an in-universe game. After all, the main menu is on a TV screen, the game over screens and credits are on a TV screen, and other like the settings, the pause menu, like it's very clearly in a TV screen. So is that supposed to cue us in that this is an in-universe game? But even if it is an in-universe game, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not in continuity. After all, Help Wanted implies that FNAF 1 through 6 are in-universe games, but they tell true stories, so they still happened in continuity. Truthfully, sitting here, I am not sure what to make of this game's continuity. I don't know how it affects the grander timeline yet, but one thing is for certain, there's a lot of ways it can go, and this game is one of the best FNAF games we've ever gotten. And in the Dawko interview, Scott mentioned that he wanted to work with Mega Cat Studios again, possibly making a game like this for Fetch. And I'm all for it. This game was amazing. There are a lot of theories to be made about this game, but they all deserve their own videos. I think for the purposes of this video, it's best I end here. So what do you think of the game? How does it compare to other FNAF games in your opinion? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, if you're still confused on the actual story of Into the Pit, my audiobook reading of that story is up on my third channel, Rydo's, link right here. I think I did a pretty good job at it. I'd hope you think the same. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share it with hashtag RyTart. A huge shout out to the best channel members, the Dough Risers. And until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.